That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, y'all know we do this every single week. Not only do I go through live stream every single night, not only do I go to the comment section and answer hundreds of questions every single video, but we are going to continue to answer as many of your start sit questions as I possibly can. Now, of course, we'll be live streaming tonight. We'll be live streaming on Sunday morning, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that bell next to the subscribe button so you can come out, you can come to a live stream. We've been live streaming for like 4 hours a night as of late, and you can get your question answered. But before we get into the questions that we have for this video, all of which were asked through Twitter, and actually we picked some from the comment section at the end of the video that we'll get to, I have to give away 2 Fantasy Flock Network hats. And now y'all know, usually if you're subscribed to the channel, drop a like on the video and leave a comment. You are automatically entered to win a Fantasy Flock Network hat, and I go through and I pick those randomly. I'm not going to lie. I did not pick them randomly today. We went down to the comment section. I actually read these comments and we actually found a couple. I wanted to get them out. And our first one we're getting out is from Ian Smith, who says, "My man, really digging the format of your videos and your takes on football. All love, bro. Hook 'em horns." Okay, just for the hook 'em horns, you're getting a hat. Hook 'em horns, baby. And then our next comment winner is another member of the 512 area. It says, 512 reppin', need one of those hats to wear around the Austin, Texas area. Keep up the awesome content, Mason. My friend, thank you so much, of course, from supporting the channel. And if you want a Fantasy Flock Network hat, just go to the description of the video, send me an email with your physical address so I can get that out ASAP. And now let's go into these questions. And our first question coming out from Josh is asking, are we going to go with Brandon Aiyuk or Tim Patrick this week? And we've already talked a little bit about Brandon Aiyuk and Tim Patrick as well in these videos. And y'all know I actually listed both of these wide receivers as guys that we've had a lot of questions about in the live streams, and I'm looking to bench both options. Now, I'm not going to lie here. This is a difficult question, and I know that 9 out of 10 of y'all down in the comment section right now are going to be screaming, Tim Patrick, Tim Patrick, Tim Patrick. I do not know what it is about Tim Patrick. I do not know why everybody just views him as some bona fide stud wide receiver that you lock him into your starting lineup with the injury to Jerry Jeudy, the injury to KJ Hamler. I understand he now has a path where he can come out and he can see a considerable amount of usage in this offense. But at the end of the day, Tim Patrick is not nearly as talented as Brandon Aiyuk. Tim Patrick is playing a game that's going to be a lot lower scoring than the San Francisco 49ers, and they are both number 3 options on their offense. I mean, with Brandon Aiyuk, he's that number 3 option behind George Kittle, Deebo Samuel. With Tim Patrick, he's that number 3 option behind both Courtland Sutton and Noah Fant. So we're now viewing it as a situation where both these wide receivers are in a very similar situation. I think we prefer to go with the player that's going to be playing in the better offense. I think we prefer to go with the player that's going to be playing in a potential shootout. I think we prefer to go with the guy that looks like he's healthy from the hamstring injury now and is stepping up to almost an every down role for his own offense. Let's go Brandon Aiyuk. We're going to start this video off with a strong tone of us saying we're not starting Tim Patrick this week. If Tim Patrick has a good week, we're probably going to go into hiding this next week. But now our next question coming out from Nate Peace, who says, Darrell Henderson, Elijah Mitchell, or Chuba Hubbard, or even Mike Davis. And okay, so at the time of this recording, Darrell Henderson looks like he is going to be starting on Sunday. And with Henderson, going back to what we were talking about, Brandon Aiyuk, trying to identify these players that are going to be playing in high-scoring contests, I think that's exactly what you're going to have with Darrell Henderson here, where obviously the Rams and Matthew Stafford, they've looked fantastic so far this season. The Arizona Cardinals as well. I think that you can expect this game is going to be very high-scoring between the Rams and the Cardinals. And in this type of scoring environment where we would imagine there are going to be a considerable amount of trips to the red zone, I think it's going to be great to go through and play Darrell Henderson, especially when Darrell Henderson has been cleared to go on Friday. This is not a scenario where Darrell Henderson, you just had to wait until kickoff and all of a sudden, oh, okay, yeah, he's active. And then we're all like, okay, how healthy is he actually? No, if they actually just made him good to go right now, I think this will be in a position that Darrell Henderson can come out. He can really thrive in this game flow. And obviously, the lead running back for the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, Sony Michel got a decent amount of work in the fourth quarter when they jumped up to a large lead against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that's entirely possible here against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Michael coming out with our next question with 2 wide receivers that I honestly really want to be starting here. Antonio Brown or Courtland Sutton. And here with Antonio Brown, we've already discussed this just slightly. You're viewing Antonio Brown as a wide receiver that should be playing in another great game environment. As with Tom Brady here, we've already discussed it, but this can be a spot where you just see the overall Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing offense go through the roof against the New England Patriots. A, you got the revenge game. B, you got what should be a record-breaking day for Tom Brady, passing up Drew Brees on the all-time passing list. I think this could lead to the fact that Bruce Arians may just let Tom Brady throw the ball 50-plus times this game. So I think that does make Antonio Brown very appealing. But Courtland Sutton here, I just think is the much safer option. I mean, with Sutton, he is the clear wide receiver 1 for his own offense. And yes, I'm not excited about the matchup that he has going up against the Baltimore Ravens. I'd imagine that the Denver Broncos put up considerably less overall points than what you're actually going to have with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the Buccaneers, I mean, Antonio Brown's going to be the third option at best on this offense, behind both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Here we're going to go Courtland Sutton. I like starting both of them, but I think Sutton is just in a spot where the floor is a lot higher than what you're going to have with Antonio Brown. Now, our next question's going to be coming out from Dan Whitmore, who says, half PPR, 10-team league, are we going to flex Kenny Golladay or Jacoby Myers? Talking about poor game environments, this New York Giants offense is going to have a very hard time moving the ball down the field. I mean, here you have no Sterling Shepard. You have no Darius Slayton. I think that this will be a spot that the New York Giants offense, they really just stall. But if they have any success, if they're moving the ball down the field in the slightest, it's going to be through Kenny Golladay. He's really the only wide receiver left standing. And I've kind of discussed this already, that I literally had psychology with Colin Johnson at UT. Trust me, I want to be rooting for Colin Johnson. But the fact that he got cut from the Jacksonville Jaguars and all of a sudden he's now looking like he's going to be an every down player for the New York Giants, that kind of tells us exactly the situation that the Giants are in with their wide receiver core, where Kenny Golladay is going to get heavily used. And we can also look at this hip injury that he has, and he was able to play through it this past week. I'd imagine that he's slightly more healthy going into this Sunday. Now, it's a matchup that we're not necessarily too worried about. I know the New Orleans Saints have a great defense. I know he's going up against Marshall Lattimore, but even with the matchup, it's a situation that it's not like this defense can just scheme Kenny Golladay out the game, because maybe they can try to do it, but where else is Daniel Jones going to go? So I think Kenny Golladay, even regardless of the matchup, is going to have to be involved here. Jacoby Myers, yes, honestly, a better matchup he has against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the problem is I think you're just looking at it where we can see the New England Patriots go with a multitude of different routes. They can go with Jonnu Smith, they can go Hunter Henry, they can go Nelson Aguilar. I mean, there's so many different options for that New England Patriots passing offense. I think Kenny Golladay really is the only guy left in New York. Okay, now Kawhi coming out with our next question here says, PPR start Clyde, Edwards-Helaire, or Robert Woods in the flex. Yeah, so this is going to be a very easy answer. You have to go with Clyde, Edwards-Helaire here. And with CEH, this is a running back that actually has an intriguing player prop right now on Underdog Fantasy. I mean, Thomas, if you wouldn't mind, can you throw up the player props that we've had for these players on Underdog Fantasy in this video? Just a couple of them to show off Underdog Fantasy's player props. Now, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this is a number that I think we could easily take the over with, to be honest, based on what we saw this past week. Now, keep in mind, going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, we would imagine that the Kansas City Chiefs have no problem moving the ball down the field. And at the same time, this is a spot that Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, they were both able to crush this past week. And of course, if y'all want to go and take advantage of these player props on Underdog Fantasy, go down to the description of the video, go to the comment section, go through that link, sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. They have a ton of interesting player props you can be looking at this week. We actually already made a video about it. And when you make a deposit on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you get additional daily entries to win a Fantasy Flock Network hat. You also get a max deposit bonus, and you support this channel a ton. So make sure you go take advantage of that. And I don't know if they'll have this player prop by the time this video comes out, but right now they actually have Robert Woods for 4.5 rushing yards, which is pretty funny. But Robert Woods really isn't in consideration here. With Robert Woods, he was someone that I really liked drafting coming into the year. But yeah, it looks like we were just wrong. I thought that he had a very high floor based on what we've had over the past 3 seasons, where he averaged over 8 targets a game over the past 3 years, every single year. Yeah, but that kind of volume just simply is not there right now, and you're getting a lot more usage to Van Jefferson than I thought we were going to have. I mean, I've rarely drafted Van Jefferson in those underdog drafts as we were leading up to the season. Even though a lot of other people were doing it, I was making fun of him, and oh my gosh, we were wrong. Now, our next question going to be coming out from David here. He says, start Miles Sanders or Darrell Henderson. You have to go Henderson. I mean, we already talked about that being a game environment that we can be very excited about. And really quick, I'm really just highlighting this question because I want the opportunity to talk about Miles Sanders here for a second. So obviously Miles Sanders was a massive disappointment this past week against the Dallas Cowboys, and Sanders is a running back I have on a considerable amount of my own fantasy teams. But here you're looking at Miles Sanders in this Dallas Cowboys game where the Cowboys got to a large lead early and you saw the Philadelphia Eagles completely abandon the run, and you had 48 Jalen Hurts dropbacks. 48 Jalen Hurts dropbacks and 3 rushes for the combination of Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell. You saw this team completely abandon the run. I mean, you could see a very similar thing play out here against the Kansas City Chiefs, knowing that the Chiefs will get up early. Even though the Chiefs have a pretty bad defense, at the same time, just understanding the game flow, I think this makes it where we want to be avoiding Miles Sanders where we can. And I'm bringing this up because even though I have Sanders in a lot of my own leagues, this is a spot where I think we need to be potentially selling Miles Sanders low. Now, of course, you're not going to get the value that you drafted with Miles Sanders, and I'm going to be faced with this decision in my own leagues as well. But I think we have to sell at a discount right now, understanding that his value is going to go a whole lot lower. Because this week going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, we've already discussed this is going to be a game where you could potentially see Jalen Hurts just get all the usage here. And then the next 2 weeks after this, the Philadelphia Eagles playing at the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers currently have a top 3 run defense in the entire NFL. And then the week after that, you have on a Thursday night, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Philadelphia Eagles, where we know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the best run defense in the entire NFL. So this is a spot over the next 3 weeks. I think every single week you can see Miles Sanders lose more and more value. So even though you're selling low after this Dallas Cowboys game, I think it may be something that you want to do. Now, our next question will be coming out from Jay Mitchell, who says Josh Jacobs or Chuba Hubbard. So really, of course, we're going to have to continue to monitor Josh Jacobs all the way until Sunday. If I pull up the most recent report here, honestly, I don't even think we need to talk about the most recent report, knowing that we'll also get a video today talking about the most relevant injury updates. But with Josh Jacobs, it is going to be a pretty good matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers. As you're looking at this Chargers defense, over the past few weeks, you've seen them turn into a complete run funnel. I mean, against the Dallas Cowboys, they really focused in on primarily shutting down Dak Prescott, shutting down this passing game, and allowing Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard to combine for over 220 rushing yards. And this past week, I mean, you had Clyde Edwards-Helaire hitting 100 rushing yards for the first time in God knows how long. You're having it as a situation where with Josh Jacobs, it's very appealing to go through and just jam him in with this matchup. I know Chuba Hubbard's playing in a game against the Dallas Cowboys where we're not necessarily too concerned about this run defense, but still with Hubbard, we don't necessarily know exactly what the usage is going to look like. With Josh Jacobs, we know the Las Vegas Raiders are going to look to run the ball every single time they get inside the 10-yard line. We've seen this in 2020. We saw this at the beginning of this season as well. So I think against the Los Angeles Chargers, I like the Chargers in this game, but I mean, I think that you could see a considerable amount of points for Josh Jacobs, just knowing that the Chargers are really a run funnel right now and they don't want to allow anything through the air. Now, our next question going to be coming out from C-Dub, who says Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, so just going right back to that Chuba Hubbard question here, I think we are going to go Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Definitely a lot closer than the Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Robert Woods that we got earlier on. But a big thing with Chuba Hubbard I want to discuss is the fact that this is a running back that we don't know exactly what the usage is going to look like through the air. Like, we don't even know if this is going to be someone playing on the primary third downs, because while yes, he kind of did that this past week, we have to understand that they weren't game planning around their current running back situation. They were game planning to have Christian McCaffrey in there the entire time. If we go back and look at Chuba Hubbard, while he was a fantastic running back out of Oklahoma State, I mean, one of the best running backs in college football back in 2019. At the end of the day, this still was someone that you're looking at saying, well, he was a very bad pass catching running back at Oklahoma State. And if we go along with this as well, I mean, you're looking at it saying he was a bad pass catching running back. And I mean, he hasn't really been good since 2019. So maybe with the addition of Duke Johnson, maybe with Royce Freeman there, that they have the entire week to game plan around it. They're not going to be giving him those screen passes that he was dropping a week ago. So I want to be a little hesitant in going and just jamming Chuba Hubbard in. Now, Matt coming out says, I really want one of those flock hats, Mason. Start Jamal Williams or Cordell Patterson in a half PPR format. Okay, so with Jamal Williams here, not a great matchup against the Chicago Bears. And to go along with this, Cordell Patterson, I mean, talk about someone that is just getting a ridiculous amount of usage in his own passing offense. I mean, you're looking at this also as a scenario where Russell Gage is going to be out yet another week with no Russell Gage here. I think you do have to get more excited about what you're going to be getting from Cordarrelle Patterson. We kind of discussed this previously this week, but if you're looking at it saying no Russell Gage here, I mean, all of a sudden, while they only literally have Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, Cordarrelle Patterson to get the ball to. I know on paper this is a difficult matchup against the Washington football team based on what we thought about this defense coming into the year. But honestly, I mean, over the first 3 weeks, the Washington football team has looked like they have one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL. I'm not expecting them to be that bad going forward, but I'm still not too worried about it. Jamal Williams, we kind of already discussed this. I mean, after week 1, he was the clearest sell high that you were ever going to find. But still, I mean, we're looking at it going, okay, well, this is a running back that is definitely going to be seeing the least amount of valuable touches in his own offense compared to someone like Cordarrelle Patterson, where we know with Cordarrelle Patterson, he's going to be getting all those targets. We know with someone like Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift is going to be getting the targets. DeAndre Swift also is going to have usage at the goal line. This is why we loved Swift in fantasy drafts, because he looked like he was going to be Aaron Jones. Jamal Williams looked like he was going to be Jamal Williams. So I don't necessarily think there's any reason to change our minds now. There's not like a massive thing that we have seen with Jamal Williams say that we need to be bumping him up. So I'm going to stand by the fact, not a massive fan of Jamal Williams. I would prefer just Cordarrelle Patterson. Joe coming out says, I need one wide receiver in a flex. Allen Robinson, Chase Edmonds, and Jacoby Myers. Okay, so for our wide receiver position, we are going to go Allen Robinson here. With Allen Robinson, this is a receiver that we've already discussed, having a great matchup against the Detroit Lions, a very bad overall team, a very bad defense. And with Allen Robinson, this is a wide receiver that, yes, was very disappointing through the first 3 weeks. Like, he's the wide receiver 71 or something on the season. But we can acknowledge the fact that he did get 30% of his team's targets this past week. 30% of his team target share definitely means this is someone that we should be expecting just has a pretty nice floor if this Chicago Bears offense can regress at all. And I know Justin Fields looked horrendous this past week. I mean, ask anybody that's been watching the channel all offseason who loved Trey Lance, who hated Justin Fields. Right here. But still, if you're talking about a wide receiver that's going to see a 30% team target share against the Detroit Lions, I think based on the opportunity alone, we're most likely going to just have to end up going in the direction of Allen Robinson for our wide receiver spot. Now, between Chase Edmonds and Jacoby Myers, I think we can go back and forth here, but looking at how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers overall passing defense is banged up, I'm getting more and more excited about Jacoby Myers, and he's also had a considerable amount of volume in his own passing game. Now, Nate coming out with our last question says, my girlfriend just traded Mike Williams and TJ Hawkinson for Jonathan Taylor and George Kittle. Did she win? Yes, you would rather have Kittle over Hawkinson. You'd rather have Taylor over Mike Williams. And then you're saying also pick 2 for Cooper, Lockett, or DeAndre Hopkins. I also just traded Jacoby Myers for Julio. Did I win? I would prefer Julio Jones over Jacoby Myers even with the injury. And then I would start both DeAndre Hopkins and Amari Cooper. 2 wide receivers that are dealing with rib injuries. I mean, why the hell have we seen so many rib injuries for all these wide receivers this season? But with that being said, I would prefer the combination of Hopkins and Cooper. Hopkins can potentially be going up against Jalen Ramsey this week, but this game is going to be so high scoring that I just want to have as much Hopkins as I possibly can fit in our lineup. And then in the case of Amari Cooper, very similar here. This is just a receiver that's been disappointing over the past 2 weeks based on the injury, but he is so talented, obviously playing in what should be a very high passing volume offense with Dak Prescott as well. So yeah, we're going to go through and start those 2 wide receivers. I mean, Lockett dealing with his own injury. Now, thank you. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. And if I was not able to get to your question, please just go down to the comment section. Leave your question right now, especially if you're watching this as a video premiere. And I'll try my best to get to it. If not, I'll be live streaming tonight. I'll be live streaming tomorrow morning. Y'all know we live stream every single night. And we've live streamed for like every day for 100 days in a row. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. And have a great day.